Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to tonight's episode of Late Night Q&A with ZodWriter. I am ZodWriter, and with me, I have Mirko Miocic, independent filmmaker. Welcome to the stream, man. How are you feeling today?
I'm doing good. It's a pleasure to be on your show. It's really nice for me to be in my first ever podcast. So, yeah, I'm excited to get started.
Man, I'm just excited to have you. You know, I had a chance to check out your film, your first independent film, not too long ago. Your father and I go way back. We're really great friends, and when he told me about your film, I was like, "This is going to be the perfect opportunity. We can discuss it and talk about it and." Talk about you and find out all the good things that people would want to know when they look you up and check out your film and see what direction you're going in. And the other thing I wanted to say for the listeners and watchers out there, we are going to actually show the short film here on Late Night Q&A, so you will get a chance to actually see this film and get it. And then if you have any questions, the reason I wanted to do it like this, if you had any questions for Mike after you see the movie, you'll be able to ask your question, and I will post it here, and you can and we can get some answers on Late Night Q&A. So I guess before we do any of that, though, I want to get started by asking you what got you into wanting to make films, and what was the whole reason why you decided you wanted to make your own movie?
So it's really tough to say. I would say, man, it probably goes like way back, ever since I just used to watch movies with my dad. That's just something that we did. Like every Sunday, throughout the day, we used to watch any movie, if it's from like the 80s or 90s. And I just really fell in love with movies, and then it just clicked to me. I'm thinking, what if I do that? What if I make my own movies and, edit my own videos and stuff, and I just got really into that, and then I started to make like these amateur films that, they're lost by now. I'm talking about, I made these when I was like little, and then I decided, if I wanted to make money, why don't I make, money by doing something with my passion, So I decided to go to Illinois Media School in O'Hare, and I just fell in love with it. And so pretty much I decided to make this film. Pretty much like I got inspiration from making this film, because I knew I had to make a film for my, like a project or whatever. So I remember one of the actors, actually, he's best friends with my brother. And he showed me maybe like a couple of weeks ago, before I made this film, he showed me this one forest, like maybe 4 minutes away from my house. And I really liked it. We walked in the forest, and I remember I went back, because I knew I had to make this film for school. I went back to the forest, and I'm like, you know what? This would be like a really good filming location, because to me, it just clicked to me. Like I looked around in the forest, I'm like, you know what? This could pass for England. And then I don't want to say too much. I don't want to spoil too much in the movie. And then it just gave me like character ideas, and I knew, that if I wanted to make a movie decent and make a movie, somewhat decent with like the limited resources that I had, I knew I had to have people that I could trust. I could trust my brother, and that's my brother's best friend. So I had those two. And, those two are amateur actors, but they did really good on the film, I believe. And I just knew if I wanted to make something decent, it would have to be those two working together, because they know how to communicate with each other, and they know how to work well, and they know how to be comfortable with one another. So, yeah.
And what are some of your film inspirations? Like, what's your favorite film, and who's your favorite director?
Easily, I would say the best film of all time has to be Goodfellas. I just something about that movie. I don't know what it is, but I could watch that movie over and over. People could. I think a lot of people like Goodfellas. People could hate on it for some reasons, but I would say I get a lot of inspiration from Tarantino because compared to other filmmakers, he has a real unique way of creating a movie. Like he really knows how to tell a story in a different way by like going in the future and going back to the past and going back to the present. I aspire to make movies like that. So
Okay, I mean, I could see that. I could see where you're coming from there with the concept of Tarantino,
yeah,
Scorsese,
yeah,
some really big name movie directors, and uh, part of the reason I want to make a movie one day is because my home city is so gorgeous that the fact that it's been neglected by my country's movie industry is infuriating.
mm,
All right, Dennis, where are you from, man? I I I'm I find that fascinating. What we're gonna do, we're gonna in a little bit though, we'll get into your film, and we'll
mm.
give we'll give the audience a chance to check it out and see what they think, and see where we are, and I guess we can talk more about it. Um, we could talk more about it afterwards. Then, does that sound like a good idea?
That's great. Yeah, I would love to hear like if anyone out there, if you guys have any questions, like how I did it, or just more about the film, feel free to ask and I'll answer them. So
Yeah.
yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah, so I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and play the film right now, and then we will go and discuss it afterwards. So let's pull up the movie. Here we go.
John, come on. Wake up, John. Come on. Wake up, buddy.
Oh, that really hurt. What happened? Where are we?
Oh.
Harry?
John, thank God. You looked passed out, almost as good as dead. What happened? Do you know how we even got here?
I don't know, lad. All I remember is we were attending the beheading of King Charles of Rotterdam, and we were kicking that bastard's head around like a ball for our feet.
Right, like a football.
And then me and you went down to Sally's pub and decided it was a good idea to down a couple of pints.
No. You know what else, John? Let me tell you something. You know what else?
What else, Harry? What else? What?
I told her over and over again, you're nothing but a mushroom up in the tree.
Oh, stupid bird.
Yeah, that's about all I remember as well. Now, how do you reckon we get out of here?
Well, let's see. I don't know. What the hell are we?
Well, you twat. I'm no genius, but something tells me we're in the middle of the bloody fucking woods.
Oh. Right. Well, not to worry. It's coming back to me now. Yeah. The town is back that way. Yeah, it's back that way.
How do you know that's the right way to go?
Where's John ever been wrong? Oh, lighten up, Harry. You look like you need another beer. Have another pint.
No.
No. Come on, don't be such a puss. Come on, everybody. Harry. Come on. Yeah.
Now, which way did you say we should go again, John?
This way. Yeah, this way.
Right.
John! Hello?
According to my knowledge of this whole flat planet, we've been traveling for over a day. The sun started over here, now it's all the way over there. That takes a very long time. You've had no idea where you've been taking us.
Well, you know what they say, Harry. The blue carrots taste the best.
What in God's name is that piss about? That's the dumbest piss I've ever heard.
It was only a saying I heard as a little kid.
I don't care, John. We have no food, no water, and we have no idea where we're going. I reckon we stay here for the night and we camp out until tomorrow morning.
Yeah. Sorry, Harry. Just exhausted is all.
It's okay, John. I'm tired too. John, I'm tired. I'm parched. I'm starving. I don't know what to do.
You know what would go really good right now? A beer from Sally's pub.
Are you fucking kidding me with that shit? Do you know what happened last time you suggested that? We got stuck here in the middle of the forest, you twat. I was thinking more like water, but we don't have any fucking water.
Yeah, we do.
What are you talking about? What's that?
It's water. You can have some if you like.
What? Water? When did you get that?
Oh, just found it laying around the forest.
And you didn't bother of telling me.
Would you like some?
Would I like some? Give me that! It is water! This is a necessary option for survival, and you fucked it all up! The fact I haven't killed you yet is a miracle! You know what? This contraption here, it's like a contraption. It's like a bottle for water.
Yeah, it's a water bottle.
Right, a water bottle.
I reckon you were right, Harry. We did go the wrong way.
Yeah, but I'm not even mad at you anymore. At least we got out of the forest. Hey,
Where are we?
well, I don't think we're in England anymore. What's that contraption over there? My God! What is that?
I'll go first. I'll go first.
Okay. Stop being a twat and open the fucking door. You said you would go first.
I'm trying. Why don't you try? Ladies first anyway.
Of the two of us, you're the lady.
I'm the fucking lady. You get the fucking wig. Okay. There's no enemy knights in here. It looks like there's a seat and a door on the other side.
Right.
All right. Okay.
I'll meet you on the other side. Okay, this is quite comfortable actually. It's pretty warm in here. Okay. All right.
Okay. Let's try and get this thing to move, huh? Okay. We need to figure out how to get back to England. How do we turn this on? Press brake to stop.
Break what? What do we break? We gotta break something? Oh my god. What was that?
I felt it move. What if I take my foot?
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Oh, we're going so fast, Harry! Maybe we should go by foot, Harry.
Yeah, I reckon going by foot might be safer. Are you trying to get us killed, John? Oh my god, John!
Oh my god! Let's take a second and just recuperate our thoughts. We need to get back to England. Maybe we can find some sort of evidence, something to steer us in the right way. Oh my god, John! Oh my god, John! What?
John! White Castle, John! White Castle!
The castle of
The
White.
Castle of White. Our surname is White, John.
Our surname is White, Harry. The castle of White.
Castle of White.
White.
To White Castle we go!
To White Castle
To
we
White
go.
Castle! Well, this is supposed to be it, John.
It smells amazing. Oh, this is beautiful. It's better than I pictured it to be. White Castle, home for the Whites. Considering that is our surname, I reckon we're both gonna fit in great here. Considering we're both one of the Whites.
Yeah, you know what, John? I reckon you're right. I mean, just think about our new beginnings and our new friendship together. I got a good feeling about this Castle of White.
Yes.
Come on, let's go in. Off to White Castle. All right, so there we are. That was the film, The Castle of White.
Yes. That was it.
I have to say I was and we were talking a little bit before the stream started about how initially you had another cut of the movie
Yes.
that was titled differently, and I kind of thought that the title of the movie initially was a little bit better because I feel like the Castle of White gives away a little bit of
Yes.
of the ending. But I don't know, after watching it again, I kind of watching it again now, I kind of feel like maybe it is more appropriate. I don't know.
Yeah, and I was agreeing with you. Pretty much. So the original title is it's still on YouTube. It's called The Good Old Lads.
Yes.
Now, when I showed it to my teacher, John Wesley Norden, when I showed it to him, he recommended that I would change it to The Castle of White because he didn't really understand the Good Old Lads title. I wanted it. I like the Good Old Lad title originally because it sounds more sarcastic in my mind, and because they're not good guys, they're just drunk losers, pretty much. So.
Yeah, and being drunk losers, ultimately, they're pretty smart for a couple of drunk losers to have figured out how to get the car to move. And where
they're pushing all the buttons, and then finally they got it to move because some idiot left his keys in the car, which that's what happens sometimes.
Which was totally convenient and worked out for the plot of the movie too. And I think but I think that's awesome because that does, that kind of stuff does happen from time to time.
Yeah.
and let's see. Let's see. Dennis here says true. I generally think that people nowadays
Arrogant.
are that arrogant. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Miracle
funny.
crash. It's an
Yeah,
alchemist wagon.
I was actually laughing, not at the movie because I've seen it a million times, but I was laughing reading the comments that were up. It's nice to see people comment about the movie that I made, so it's pretty funny.
Oh yeah, yeah. And the thing is and this is the thing. This movie, it's really cool because you have this whole medieval setting. Like I was reminded about, what I was thinking about initially. It's so funny, and I don't know why I was thinking this, but when I first saw it, I was thinking about Lord of the Rings, and I was thinking about The Hobbit because of all the beer is flowing. They're being completely drunk idiots, and I'm thinking,
And that's exactly
seeing all the green in the movie. It's just like.
But you know what? When I first showed it to people, I was getting kind of worried that people wouldn't know it was from like medieval times, because the costumes that I had for them, it was like maybe $20 total, and I got it from Goodwill. So I didn't know if it could pass as like medieval costumes at all. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I think you pulled it off. Because a lot of people, particularly people watching the movie in the chat, are commenting about this as well, and it's funny because it does give you that vibe, and the two characters are done in such a clueless way. I mean, poor Harry. I don't know. I mean, I could just imagine how drunk you'd have to be in that situation, and then to end up at White Castle of all places. They have no idea just how lucky they are.
Well, I mean, it's a castle, They thought maybe they could find family or something there. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it's, but it really, you really managed to capture, the essence of that with those two characters. I totally bought into it. And like I said, if you watch it from the beginning, you don't know at all that it's going to end up where it ends up.
Yeah.
The concept of time travel. And I was starting to think of it as more of like a meta sense, that maybe they weren't actually from England. Maybe they were a couple of mental patients who got out of a mental institution.
I didn't think about it like that. Yeah,
wandered away and thought that they were these. In their minds, they thought they were these English royals who had some sort of nobility, and all they are is just a bunch of crazy nutcases that happened to get out of the institution when no one was looking. And it was so, but I think you managed to capture the spirit especially where it takes place. And, you have this forest area where you're not really, it could have been anywhere. And Dennis here says he was thinking Lord of the Rings as well. So I'm glad I wasn't alone.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings. We have, and this is what I like to see too. I like to see the chat engaging with the whole.
Yeah, that's nice. Actually, yeah, I'm just glad that you guys understood the point, and that like you guys knew right away that these guys were just medieval guys, getting drunk, blacking out for 500 plus years in the future. That's interesting that I found it interesting that you said that what's it called, that you thought that they were just mental patients, escaping the mental institute, because that could actually work too. I never heard anyone say that about the film yet.
As
that's an interesting concept.
And like a sequel, you find out that they're escapees. And
that's interesting, yeah. That would be a good idea, but Yeah, that's interesting.
because they're but I mean I do like the idea of the blackout
Hmm.
representing time travel. The
Yeah.
whole concept of now it's 500 years in the future, and of course White Castle smells great. You're both a couple of drunken idiots, and you are in the perfect place. Now for me and your dad back in the day, it was burritos from this from this burrito joint that used to soak up all the alcohol. But I will say the taco that White Castle kind of works.
That works too. Well, if you think, have you seen the movie Harold and Kumar
Yeah.
Goes to White Castle?
Yeah.
So it works too in that sense. So I guess I kind of did get some type of inspiration from that movie, but I didn't even realize it.
You didn't realize it until
I
after
didn't
you
realize it. So
yeah.
the more I think about it,
Yeah. Dennis says I figured the time travel the moment I saw the bottle.
Oh, that's good. I kind of wanted that to be a thing.
That's a good hint.
Also, also when it comes to the bottle thing, he missed a line. He was supposed to say, "Oh, I find these everywhere. These water bottles, they're on the ground. I find them everywhere." But I guess at the end of the day, that really didn't need to be in, because you guys kind of put the pieces together and kind of understood that, back then they didn't have water bottles like that. So
that's a deleted scene.
Yeah, okay. He only because he forgot a line.
But it really isn't. But like you just pointed out, it's not really needed, because you do a brilliant job letting the audience in on the clue when you see the water bottle that, hey, we're somewhere else. This is not 500 years ago. This is not a medieval setting anymore. There's no wacky reefer addict wizard in the trees gonna jump out and turn them into frogs. We are in 500 years
2023. We're in medieval times, and
indoor toilets would shock them.
So originally I wanted to have an ending where they would accustom to modern day life, like they would get like a 9-to-5 office job or whatever.
Oh wow!
And then I was thinking that's a little bit too long.
That would have to be another movie.
Yeah, and a little bit too complex for the resources that I had at that time. So it just clicked to me. I was walking my dog, and I was thinking, like, how should I end this thing? And I was thinking about like the modern day castles that we have. Originally, I was thinking of medieval times. They ended up in medieval times. And I'm like, that's like maybe an hour away from my house. That's a little bit too far. And I would need permission to film there too. And then I was thinking, it just clicked to me, White Castle. The only time when, because I didn't film inside, I didn't need permission to film there. If that makes any sense. So
right, just the exterior shot of them walking towards the White Castle. Being all you need to signify to the audience exactly what's about to happen.
Back shot of them, and then just pan the camera to the left and show the White Castle. So that's exactly what I wanted. So.
Darth Plato says they could have ended up in the Flash movie. Would have made it a better movie. Honestly.
Man.
Yeah, probably.
I've been avoiding the Flash movie. I don't know if I should see it or not. I don't know.
You're doing the right thing.
My friends saw it, but I didn't hear two good things.
I love it. Escapees from a mental institution. Yeah, I think because you could. It's like there are people. And there have been a lot of cases of that, of people who think that they're from another time, and they're locked in the mental institution because they think they're from somewhere else, and they don't have the grip on reality that, hey, it's usually a case of something where something tragic happened, and they are compensating for the tragedy in their mind, and they can't reconcile it. So they kind of retreat into this, I'm from medieval times. So now you're locked up in a mental institution, and you think you're King Arthur, and you have all these, and all of your loony friends are the Knights of the Round Table, and you're just kind of, I mean, I don't, and then they escape, and it's so like a big budget version of this could have all of that, like a big budget, where if it was like a big budget comedy, it could have all of these elements. They could be in the mental institution, they could have the whole concept of them, but you don't find out that they're mental patients until the end of the movie. You don't find that out at all. So it's kind of it would be kind of cool. But I also like the idea of them actually being from medieval times, blacking out from being so disgustingly drunk, and waking up 500 years in the future somehow. That's amazing. So that means whatever alcohol they were consuming caused them to time travel.
Like, I guess you could say, like, it froze their body. Like, if you've seen the TV show Futurama, I don't know. Kind of, it just froze. Like how Fry got frozen. And he time traveled like 1,000 years in the future. It's, it could be. I never thought about it this far, but it could be maybe somehow the alcohol that they had froze them for however long in the future, 500 years or whatever. So maybe I could. Maybe I could remake in the future. I would think about it, but I feel like a part 2, I'm kind of afraid to do a part 2 or like a prequel or anything like that, because I feel like it might ruin it, in a way.
I don't know. I think because you, I mean, if these are characters and you want to build off of it, if these are characters that you care about and you want to see more of them, it could work if you want to do like a sequel or even a prequel. But you wouldn't need to do a prequel, I don't think, because
I wouldn't even know what I would do. It'd just be them living there.
They would be in medieval times.
Yeah,
getting drunk and being idiots like they were in the movie. So because that's what I mean. You do it because that's a great job establishing that that's what they are.
Also, and not to cut you off, but also I wanted to have like let me see that planted. Oh, I like reading the comments. I wanted to have like 2 separate characters of like 2 separate personalities. Like, we got the one idiot, which is like in every comedy, and then we have the like sarcastic asshole type of a guy, So I wanted to have 2 different characters, because if you have like 2 of the same characters, like 2 dumb idiots, I mean, they're both idiots, but if you have like 2 dumb idiots, it just doesn't work out. It's just not that funny,
Exactly.
That's how I see it.
Exactly. But they kind of play off of each other so well.
Yeah, they do. It's exactly what I wanted.
It worked. It's like you picked a couple of guys who obviously know each other well enough, trust each other well enough. What you were talking about earlier, when you said about trusting one another, to be able to essentially build the characters and create that dynamic of friendship between the 2 of them that's very evident in the movie. So I thought that was another great element. You could tell that they were very, very close, and that they genuinely carry for each other and have a genuine affection for one another. So that made it, I think, to me, that's what made the whole movie work. The dynamic between those 2. If that didn't work, you'd be like trying to figure it out still.
Right. And that was my thinking. Because the guy that played Harry and the guy that played John, they're best friends in real life. Like, they do everything with each other. And Harry is my brother. So and both of them. So I can't get my words, but John, he actually does act. He does act and he does like stage plays and stuff. But my brother Anthony, who played Harry, doesn't really have too much acting experience. So I knew if I had them two together, they would be the most comfortable, because they know each other so well. So yeah, you're right on with that. So
The sequel could be the Men in Black trying to keep them quiet. Oh yeah, at the mental institution. Take them to see The Exorcist. Tell them it's a documentary.
They would believe in that. I think they would believe.
Your film taught me a valuable lesson.
Oh my God! Yep, that's exactly what I was trying to show. That alcohol poisoning could send you to the future.
That would actually be a great concept for a series of movies. People just they realize that they could time travel by getting horribly drunk off of vintage alcohol.
Oh man, can you imagine?
People would be time traveling all over the place.
All the time. Yeah, I mean, if you think the alcoholic problem's bad, just imagine if you could time travel. Like how much worse it could be.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Hollywood Polo, you came in late. We were talking about this film, and we actually played the film on the stream. So you might want to go back and watch the replay so you can see the whole film and get the context. And I also have a link in the description to Mirko's to your YouTube channel and to the updated version of the film as well. So this way, people can easily get to it. Crazy guy dresses as Napoleon. What do you drink to travel to the past? That's an interesting question. They were drinking. What were they? They were drinking the kind of ale that you see on Game of Thrones.
That was my thinking. It was like an ale, some disgusting beer that nobody would drink. But if it takes you to the past or future, then it's worth it. So
and it's probably 100 proof compared to the kinds of stuff that we drink.
Oh yeah,
because everything now is watered down. Somebody pointed that out in the chat.
That's true. Yeah,
it's way watered down. Everything that you drink, even like regular, for example, like a regular beer, is watered down to the equivalent of like a light beer compared to what it used to be.
For sure, yeah. We would get sick if we drank anything from the past, whatever they drink.
There is a franchise about cops getting killed and then ending up in the past. Interesting.
I think I may have heard of that before. Dressed in Napoleon.
I told them not tall enough. Okay. No. The Men in Black wants to shut them up so they won't reveal the secret of time travel. Yeah. Well, you just did. You revealed the secret of time travel to everybody. Yeah, so unless they're buffoons, mental patients, they literally did travel into the future, and if that's into the modern day. So hopefully they'll be okay, because I don't know if they necessarily have any money on them to buy the food at White Castle that they order. So that's a whole other element that we kind of have to use our imagination about.
And they did not. I mean, even if they did have money, medieval currency would, you can't even use it in today. And also, my intention was to show that they're going to White Castle because that's their last name. Right. So they were actually thinking maybe they could find some help, or they could find like maybe some of their family members were in there. But in reality, them walking into White Castle, looking at that they'll probably get pointed at and laughed at and probably get told to leave. So that's probably what would have happened.
Yeah. Or something would have been crazy, and one of them would have flipped, would have freaked out, and then the cops would have been called, and it would have eventually led to some sort of institutionalization.
Yeah. If
they didn't somehow manage to get back to medieval times, which would be an interesting plot element for like if you were going to do a sequel about how they would get back to their time. Would they have to get horribly drunk and somehow?
Yeah, wouldn't it be interesting if they're sitting there in the interrogation room with the police officers and they tried to explain to them that they're not from here and that like they think like that they think that they time travel. Like they wouldn't even the police officers would think that they're crazy right away, No doubt about it.
Oh yeah. And I was thinking about that, fable, that story about the time traveler. Remember the guy he got stopped at an airport. Mm-hmm. He thought he was traveling to some city or something, or some country that doesn't exist.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
He had a passport and everything, and he had proof. And then when he was, detained, they were trying to figure it out, and they put him up in a hotel room. And then the next morning, when they went to check on him, he had disappeared.
So is that a true story, or did they ever find out?
It's like,
I've heard of that.
Nobody knows. It's like it's an urban legend kind of. Nobody really knows if it's true or not. There have been some stuff out where they've tried to debunk it. Some have said that that it never actually happened. Some say that it did happen, and that there's just no way to. There's just no evidence to prove or disprove it at this point. But you would think if something like that were to happen, where you get lost in time, and you get, if the idea is true that, multiverses exist, or the whole idea of simulation theory, which is, us living in an actual computer simulation, that type of stuff. If you actually take any of that into account, it's easier to explain away these kinds of things as almost like just being glitches. Like even in your movie, like the whole concept of these guys, maybe it wasn't the alcohol, maybe it was a glitch in time that they just happened to stumble upon because they were completely drunk and unaware of what was going on. And and the whole idea of you black out, you forget things, you pass out for a lengthy period of time, and then the whole play on the idea of you blacked out for 500 years and now you're in the future. So I think that story is, it's like I can kind of believe it as being something like that, to say that it's a glitch in time of some sort. If you think these glitches if these glitches can happen, because strange stuff has happened. I mean, it really wouldn't surprise me, to be honest with you, if it was true.
That's interesting to think of. It kind of reminds me too, like, I don't know if you're aware, have you heard of like the back rooms or something like that, when people that could be a similar concept, I mean, maybe they were just walking around drunk and then they clipped through time and they just didn't even know. Yeah. Like, you're putting like a lot of interesting ideas in my head, So.
Yeah. It's all like metaverse kind of stuff where we're not, time is not, it's like time is not what we think it is. So essentially it is possible to slip through a glitch in time, to end up in another reality, to end up in another time temporarily. but the one thing about all these stories is a lot of the time people will end up in a different time, but then they will eventually, if they come here, they will eventually end up back where they came from somehow. Like it never, like in the case of the guy with the passport. It's not, he obviously, when he disappeared, he probably ended up right back in his own time.
Maybe he knew how to get back, or maybe he just did an accident again. You don't know.
Yeah, hopefully he just knew how to get back, or it was one of those things where it was a temporary glitch, and once the glitch repaired itself, he was back in his own time.
Does this ever make you wonder, is like, if time traveling is real, then why wouldn't like people in the future travel back to today's time? But my thinking is, if it is real, maybe only certain government officials are allowed to do so. And maybe if they do travel back in time, maybe there's a way how like you can't see them, or they're like camouflaging in some way. Like you never really know.
Or it could be what the basis of like simulation theory is, which is we are basically living in a simulation that was created by our ancestors in the future, who are running a simulation to see how things were back when they, back then, back at the beginning. And essentially the reason why we don't see them travel, they don't travel back, is because it's a simulation and they can already see everything that's happening.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've heard of the simulation theory, but I never heard of the fact that the future is now, and like they're watching us through like a simulation.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Could it be possible, like, this might sound kind of crazy, but like would that mean that they're able to like control us, or they're just like watching us on TV?
I kind of feel like it's almost like, that video game, for example, The Sims.
Yeah, that's
you have like, that's kind of like how I'm looking at it, like almost like we're the Sims, but we're a much more advanced version of The Sims.
Yeah.
So technically, it's not like they necessarily can control us, are controlling us, but they create the environments, and then they just see what we're going to do. So it would explain a lot if we were living in a computer simulation, because it would explain away certain problems and reasons why things are so crazy and nutty, and you can't, because there are things in this world that no matter how hard we try, we can't make sense of it. You can't, we don't know why certain things are the way they are. We don't know what makes these things happen. So it'd be a lot easier to explain away if we could prove 100% that, we're in a simulation. Well, that explains why things are the way they are. That explains why this is so crazy. That explains why these people are so nuts. That explains why people do this or that. And I just think that it just explains away so many different things if you see it that way. And I remember somebody saying, well, how do you think society would change if we found out that we do indeed live in a simulation? Would it really change your everyday life? And I thought about it and I was like, well, no, not really.
Yeah.
Because even if you live in a simulation and you live in a simulation, you still have to live your life.
Yeah.
You still have to go to work. You have to make your money. You have to support yourself. You have to do the things that you normally do. There's probably, because there's rules within, there's rules within everything, and there's probably rules within the simulation as well. So I don't really think life would change all that much if we found out suddenly tomorrow that it was proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that we were in a simulation.
Yeah. I mean, even if you think about it, when the government technically revealed the fact that like aliens probably do exist on the planet, I'm not going to say if they do or not, because it's like unknown and speculations that they do. It's kind of like people, like if the government came out today straight out, which they already almost did, that aliens do exist and we are living with aliens, I think people will be like, all right, I mean, that's cool and all, but I still got bills to pay. I still got to go to work and stuff, every day. So I don't think it would really, I agree. I definitely agree with you. Like, I don't think it would change our way of life as we know it today. So.
Right. Because whoever created it, whatever it is, it's still the environment that we're in. It's still the life we're living. So it doesn't matter.
It would be nothing life changing.
It would be nothing life changing. I don't think it would. I don't think it would change all that much. It might mess with some people's religious beliefs a little bit.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But
started on that, it definitely will.
But I don't think it would like change like the everyday person's perspective of things. Speaking of the multiverse, did anyone hear of The World as a Myth concept by Robert Heinlein? What's fiction on one world is reality on another. Yeah, I've heard of that.
I've never heard of that. Yeah,
and they also say about the multiverse, that anything that the multiverse is anything that can happen.
Yes,
does actually happen somewhere. So there are so many different variations of planet Earth. There are so many different variations of like you and me and everyone else that it's
pretty much like it's pretty much like any outcome that could happen has already happened.
Yeah.
Like, from my understanding, it's like, for example, there's a universe that we're living in right now where I join your podcast and I talk about, my movie and everything that we're talking about right now. And then there's also a universe where I never made a movie and I don't even know that you exist. You know what I mean? And there's so many like infinite possibilities pretty much, which is really fascinating to think about. I like that concept.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's such a deeply layered thing to think about. There's so much to it. Reject naturalism, materialism. That'll go a long way in getting the world. Have you ever played Quantum Break? There's a hypothesis in the game in that you can't change the past from traveling to the past, only if you travel to the future. As I always understood time travel, I always understood it like this. If you travel to the past and you do something to the past to alter the future, that will alter the future, you don't change the past that you're trying to alter. You basically create another timeline in which the stuff that you did carries over. It's like a branching system. So like it would seamlessly branch off of the existing world, but the past that you tried to change remains intact in the original place that it was. So there's no way. So you can't go back in time, kill Hitler, and then go back to where you came from and expect that you were successful to kill Hitler. You might have been successful killing Hitler, but you did it. You created another timeline when you did it. So therefore, you would have to go to that timeline. You would have to be in that timeline where you were successful. That would be a completely different reality where that happened. And they just kind of branch off each other. That's how I've always understood time travel.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. So it's kind of like, so what's your thoughts of like the grandpa paradox? Obviously you probably know what that is, right?
Yeah. You go back, you kill your grandfather.
Yeah. Then how would you do it?
Now your parents you wouldn't be born, and your you know, but and I think that that's what it would be. You would basically, you're creating another reality where now you would go to that reality, but because you created a reality, you created that reality, you're from another reality. So it doesn't affect you. You're from another reality where you didn't kill. You come from a reality where you didn't kill your grandfather. The reality where you killed your grandfather is an offshoot reality. So that's a different reality. So then you're a different person. You're not the same as
that. Technically wouldn't be your grandfather that you're killing in a way.
No, because you're
right.
Because you can't. Yeah,
okay.
And so you're creating a timeline where, you were successful doing that, but now that's not your grandfather because you come from a different timeline. It's your grandfather, but it's not your grandfather. It's almost because it's a variant of your grandfather because you've created another timeline.
Yeah, that really gives me like a better understanding of that because I didn't really understand like the grandfather paradox until now. That makes a lot more sense because, I mean, you would think in order to time travel that you would definitely have to create like totally different realities,
Yeah, and all traveling to all these different realities, it's like you are. So in theory, you can go back and do. If you could travel back in time, you could go back and do anything you want. But just know that when you go back and whatever you do, you're creating a new reality. It's not the same reality that you came from. The reality that you came from continues to exist the way it always has because it's a fixed point in time. It's a reality that cannot be changed. So that's why I believe in the multiverse theory, because it explains how certain things could be done. Yeah, you can't go back. So you can't go back and basically rewrite the past, but you can go back and create another reality where what you want to happen does happen. So there is a reality out there where somebody went back in time, probably killed Hitler and stopped World War II from happening.
Yeah.
You have all of these variants of reality, but at the end of the day, it's like we live in the reality we live in, and we can't, and as of right now, we don't have the ability to travel between realities and travel between continuities. But who knows? At some point, we might.
Maybe.
I mean, we might be able to see other versions of ourselves or see what happens. But it's really fascinating to think about it. Darth Plato says, "I've had conversations like this before. I apply a Gelian diametric."
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Diametric. Okay, either we're living in a real world or we're not. How do we adjudicate between the two? I kind of think because the odds are so high that we're living in a simulation. The odds are actually higher that we're living in a simulation than we're not. That there's almost a 0% chance, according to some of the top scientists, that we are not living in a simulation. It's much more likely that we are living in a simulation, because either we're living in a simulation or we're ground zero. We're the actual first society. We're living in a physical world. Mm-hmm. But it's so unlikely. I don't think we are. I think we're living in a simulation of some sort. And there's been all sorts of, theories and ideas about what kind of simulation it could be. Like some people are saying that some scientists have said that it's a holographic, that the simulation that we live in is a hologram.
What?
Our consciousness.
I'm sorry. It could really be something like outside of our understanding. Like,
yeah,
it could be more than that. Like, who knows? Like, it could be something as simple as like a computer simulation, or like you said, a hologram, or it could be just something that we never heard of before. It could just be that simple.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you believe that it's like humans not controlling, but humans monitoring our simulation, or do you think it's like extraterrestrials or something like that? What's your thought?
My thoughts on this is it's probably humans. It's probably
Futuristic
futuristic versions of humanity, I think, because think about it. We already have virtual reality.
True.
And eventually virtual reality will become indistinguishable from real life. So if you can make virtual reality indistinguishable from reality, then what's to stop us from eventually creating that simulation where people will exist, where fake people will exist in that simulation? I mean, look at what's going on right now with AI.
Mm-hmm.
All of this stuff, I think it's all connected, and it's all leading to the bigger picture, and we're going to eventually get that concrete evidence that yes, we are living in a simulation. But here's another question: even if you prevent Nazi Germany, what's stopping the USSR from starting World War II instead? Well, it's the same difference. You could go back. I'm sure there's a reality where a guy goes back, or a woman goes back in time, kills Hitler, kills Stalin, stops World War II altogether. And World War II doesn't happen. There's a reality probably that exists out there somewhere where there was never a World War II. There's probably a reality out there where Hitler was a famous painter. And he was an artist, and he just lived off of his art and did, lived a carefree life, or a starving artist kind of a life. There's always I feel like there's realities wherever. I also believe there's a reality out there where the Axis powers won World War II.
For sure.
And they control everything. There's probably a world out there, an existence out there where that's the case.
There's a show like that.
Oh yeah, that's Man in the High Castle.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I just think that, that's what it is. It depends what reality that you're in, what simulation are you living in? Because I also had this fascinating idea. What do you think about this?
Okay.
So when you die, it's like life is like a video game. So like when you die, you don't actually die. What happens is you die, and then you black out, and you just respawn in another reality where you didn't die, and you continue living your life until you've fulfilled whatever purpose it is you're meant to fulfill, because you never really die, because we're essentially, our consciousness is energy. So that energy has to go somewhere. So even if you're killed, your body is just essentially just an avatar. So say you're killed, but where does that consciousness go? Where does that energy go when you die? Has to go somewhere. So let's just say it goes into another reality where you simultaneously continue living. You've died in one reality, but you just won't be aware of it because you'll go on living in another reality. And I always give the example of when I was younger and I had a bad allergic reaction. I went out on a date and I had a bad allergic reaction at an ice cream shop, and I had to be rushed to the hospital. And the doctor told me that had I gotten to the hospital 5 minutes later than I did, I probably would have been dead, because my throat was closing at a rapid rate from the allergic reaction that I had. So I always think about it in terms of I could have died during all of that, and then I didn't know, and then I woke up, and then I would wake up in a reality very similar to the one I was living in.
Huh.
But I wouldn't know that I died because I go on living in another reality, just very similar to the one that I came from. And that's what it is with the multiverse. There's so many variants. There's worlds that are virtually indistinguishable from this one with very, very minute differences. So that's why I always wonder about that. If that's true, if essentially it's like a video game, when you die, you respawn and you just go on living. Who knows?
So do you think, so the only question I have about that is, let's say you're like 90 years old, right? You lived a good life, you're just dying just because of age or whatever. So pretty much what you're saying, like, will you be at that time? Will you be reincarnated to like a newborn child, and you would have no memory from your past life? Is that what you're saying? Essentially,
I would think that once you've served whatever your purpose in this existence is, that your consciousness would either allow you to be born again in a different, in a different body, or your consciousness would go to the collective of whatever it is we are outside of our bodies.
You think that you will keep on going, like your consciousness will keep on going until it thinks that it served its like purpose,
until it's served whatever the purpose was, and then it just goes back to and then it goes to a collective, which is essentially the whatever we are as one, spiritually, whatever the religious element of it is, the spiritual aspect would be where we would go. That would be our destination after we have completed whatever it is. Because I'm kind of thinking that our simulated lives are just that, like almost like plays, like or movies. They're we're meant to fulfill a role. We're meant to achieve certain things, and then once we've done that and we've served our purpose, then we go into the spiritual realm of whatever that's meant to be.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So that, like that 90-year-old man that you're talking about, he would probably, if he's 90 years old, if his essence or spirit or consciousness or whatever ends up going somewhere else, and he ends up as a newborn baby and born again, then he obviously didn't achieve whatever it was he was meant to achieve, because that means that he's going through the cycle again, right? Instead of going to whatever the spiritual finality is, which I find fascinating. But I try to think about all of these aspects of it to see what it could all mean. I mean, are we in a simulation? And because they talk about one day we'll literally be able to upload our consciousness into a computer and basically be immortal and be able to live life.
Isn't Elon Musk kind of trying something like that?
Well, he's working on the Neuralink right now.
That's what I'm talking. Is that
will connect? That's going to connect us to. That's going to allow us to connect to artificial intelligence. That's going to allow us to connect to the internet in our minds without needing to have all of these other devices. You won't need your phone, because you'll have access to everything right in your brain. You'll be able to just communicate. It'll be instantaneous.
I would feel like something like that would just hurt your head, just having all this.
That's what I would think too.
About everything,
I heard somebody make a great point about how we're already at the point where we are essentially cyborgs already, because of the way that we rely on our phones. We've always got our phones. We're already in that.
So
we're already
it's
in the,
zombie.
we're zombified. We're essentially cyborgs already without even realizing it.
Yeah.
It's setting us up for the eventuality of having a chip in our brains and being able to connect to the internet or make a phone call or connect to artificial intelligence or whatever we want to do. The idea that people who die are sent to another different life to correct the mistakes of their past, that's a possibility too. That could be one aspect of why we're, why we do what we do, or essentially could mean that if you die and you didn't accomplish everything, then you start again. Or if you're young enough, you just keep getting transferred to realities where you don't die until you've accomplished whatever it was you mean. If we're in a simulation, then do we have accountability? Yeah, that's an interesting question. I wonder, but I also have to ask what essentially would be accountability, because as human beings, we think of accountability as being, for an example, of being judged by God when we die, right? That would essentially be accountability, or accountability being that you committed a crime and you were arrested by the police and you were tried for your crime and you took whatever punishment. That's accountability. But the thing of it is what if there's accountability means something different in the spiritual realm? What if you're not accountable? What if accountability is Earth is essentially just a hell and you have to keep living over and over and over again until you get it right? Maybe that's your accountability.
Wow.
You gotta keep
something right.
You gotta do it till you gotta do it till you get it right.
Huh. Do you think for everyone, the thing that they have to get right, do you think it's different for everyone, or do you think it's about the same for everyone? So what I mean is, like, I don't know why this came to my head, but maybe a person's purpose in life, let's just say, is to be like a police officer, right? But maybe they don't know that's their true purpose. Maybe they're supposed to be doing something else. Like maybe they're supposed to be like, I don't know, like a firefighter or something. And then they have to, when they die, and then when they get reincarnated, would they have to keep on living a new life over and over until they become a police officer? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I just don't know if it's that specific, or if it's not necessarily something that you're meant to. Maybe it's not necessarily something you're meant to do, like as a job or as like a calling of some sort. Maybe it's a lesson that you're supposed to learn, or maybe there's some type of
lesson about life.
Yeah, some kind of thing you're supposed to get from it, that if you don't get it, you have to go through it again, or you have to keep living until you do get it. That's kind of how I've kind of thought about it. Like, what are we trying to accomplish as human beings? Everybody has their own view of that, because everybody has their own things that they want to be, things that they want to do. So I often think about it like that. Like, what is the difference? So my purpose on Earth is going to be different from your purpose on Earth, because whatever it is you're meant to do isn't the same thing that I'm meant to do, that I know of. Or maybe it's a lesson that some of us, there's some lessons that some of us get and some of us don't. And so therefore, maybe there's some lessons that you already know, you've already learned, but I haven't. And therefore my purpose is to get these lessons, to get these things, and your purpose is something completely different. And so that's what I've kind of,
that's what I was thinking too, that everyone has a different purpose.
Right. And I don't know if if it's a spiritual purpose in terms of insight or something that you're supposed to gain from life and from existence, rather than, okay, you're meant to be a filmmaker, I'm meant to be a writer, he's meant to be a musician, she's meant to be a nurse. It's like I don't. That's where I kind of, that's where I kind of how I'm confused and conflicted by it, because I don't know if it's. I feel like it has to go deeper than just you're meant to be a filmmaker and I'm meant to be a writer. There's got to be even more. Now that could be part of it. I could be meant to write the book of the century, and you could be on this earth to make the greatest film of all time. But there has to be something more to it than that as well, like a deeper meaning, a more I don't know, I would say spiritual reasoning for it. And these are all questions that I ask with the idea about where do we go, where do we go when we die, what actually would be heaven, what is the afterlife, is there a heaven, is there a hell? These are all questions that come up when you think about the world in the terms that you and I are talking about right now.
Yeah. I mean, maybe one day we'll know. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah, and Dennis makes a good point here too. He says, I think that your true purpose is to be satisfied with your actions. Maybe.
It's probably true for everyone.
That could be a universal truth. Yeah, that could be universal.
Just to live your life and be satisfied. Just be satisfied for whatever you're doing. And it really makes you think, that there's a lot of, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are just unsatisfied in what they're doing in their everyday life. So maybe those people do like a trial and error type of thing every time when they die, and then they would have to go through that process more compared to like other people that maybe are satisfied. But maybe also the people, if you think about it, maybe the people that are satisfied, maybe there's even more satisfaction that they could get that they're not even aware of. That could be a thought too.
Yeah, or something you're meant to do that is for the betterment of all. Or maybe like an understanding of, like it would say, like you get in some religious texts, you get the whole concept of loving one another and being kind to your neighbor, or
it's
being
it's all of the religions.
All of the religions essentially. But when you look at it that way, you say, well, if there's more of a reason, more of a for the betterment, and that's why I always say we have to get to the point as a species where we are working for the betterment of humanity, not just trivial things, not just things for the individual, like things that you want to do or I want to do personally, but things for the betterment of all. And once we get to that point where we are no longer reliant upon the superficial things, we're no longer driven by profit and and our own personal needs, and once we're at the point where all of our basic needs are met relatively easily, and we start living for the betterment of humanity as a whole, I think that's when we'll begin to unlock, the true secrets of what it is that, this is all about. Maybe this is how we'll figure it out, because scientifically, one way or another, they're gonna eventually find out whether or not we're in a simulation, what the universe really is. It's gonna eventually get to that point. But I've come to the conclusion, and this is something that I thought about a while ago, that there are going to be people, no matter what, that are going to like you, love you or hate you. And there's no in between, and there's no way to sway these people. If you get people that you know or people that you interact with that hate you, they're going to disagree with you no matter what happens. It doesn't matter if what you're saying is true. It doesn't matter if there's any factual stuff in what you're saying whatsoever. If you tell somebody who hates you that, hey, yo, the sky is blue, they're going to argue with you about the sky being blue, not because you're wrong about the sky being blue, but because it's not based on fact. It's based on the fact that they don't like you.
Right.
So how they perceive you is going to always be negative because it's not based on fact. It's based on feelings. And so when feelings are the only thing that is driving the majority of people, and they're living only based off of their feelings, then they can't see beyond themselves, and they can't see beyond petty things like their hatred for this person or that person or the people they love, like, or whatever. It's never going to change. Society, in order for humanity to change, we have to get beyond all of these things. And I had no idea we would get into a deep discussion like this. But
I know, me neither.
But that's essentially what it all boils down to. I mean, we're talking about time travel and simulations,
the meaning of life, pretty much.
Of life now, and I don't. Oh God, who or what determines a thing that has been done right or done wrong? And that's a great question. There's no answer to that right now.
It's just what we determine as, society as a whole.
And that doesn't mean, and just because society determines that something is right doesn't mean that it is, because society is very fickle and changes its mind very often. So, 1 minute this is completely illegal, the next minute this is completely acceptable. So you have to look at it. When you place your faith in humanity, you have to realize that humans are flawed. We're flawed people, flawed creatures. So is the spiritual realm our only hope as human beings, looking beyond and trying to find a better life for everybody? Because I honestly don't know. I look at it and I sit here and speculate on what I think it could be, but I mean, we're just all just doing our thing, all just trying to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And man, I don't think this would. I agree with that comment. I didn't think this was gonna be that deep. We just started off talking about time travel, and now we're here. I don't even know how we got.
500 with 5. We went from 500 years ago to the meaning of life and the betterment of humankind. Dennis, you wants to hop on for a second. Okay. Let's see. I guess you can join us for a second, Dennis. That's fine. There you go. What if your true purpose is to be a cannibal? I don't know.
Yeah, we didn't even determine that. Like, maybe people's true purpose is to be like straight up awful.
To be straight up. I mean, that's straight up evil. I don't know.
I mean, I'm wondering. It's never, yeah.
And I like this here too, what Dennis is saying here. My policy is to be kind to people unless they are unkind to you. In that case, you make their life a living hell. My thing is like this. Until people give you a reason to be on, to show you that it's always better to be kind. It's always better, because the thing is, you don't lose nothing by being kind to people. And even people that are being unkind to you, they're showing their ignorance. They're showing their, sides of themselves more so than you. So as long as you put kindness first, that's a long way. And I think Dennis is here. What's up, Dennis?
Hi.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you understand me?
Yeah. Doing good.
All right, great. So, that was what I posted before. That like you were talking about what society determines what's right or wrong. I always felt that our modern society is morally bankrupt because it's too absolute in its morality. It's all only right and wrong. There are no shades of gray in our society, and I think that we need to contemplate the fact that contexts matter in our actions.
Absolutely.
Me and my friend keep talking about that all the time. One friend like.
Yeah,
So,
there's always context. Yes.
remember I said my home city would be perfect for a movie?
Yeah.
Remember? So this is my home city.
So I'm sorry, you're saying this would or would not be perfect for a movie?
Would be perfect.
Okay.
Look at it. I just share a screen.
Let's see.
Okay. Oh, okay.
This
What's
beautiful.
the name of the city? City, I can't tell.
Florianópolis,
Where's that at?
Brazil, Santa Catarina.
Oh, Brazil. Okay. Yeah, I know a lot of places in Brazil would definitely be beautiful for like a movie too.
Yeah.
So
The thing, my dream is to write crime fiction, right? Stories about criminals, cops, and people that hunt criminals, mostly, because my dad's a cop, so I write about that stuff, and I want to write about that stuff. But the thing is, I always felt that all our crime shows are about the favelas, and I'm like, no, there's much more to that about this aspect. For example, is always on the favelas, but the favelas of one specific city, that's Rio de Janeiro, which is basically hell. I understand why they recorded there, but that's another story. But basically, what I was thinking was Florianópolis, because Florianópolis, if you don't know, the state of Santa Catarina, it's where the drugs get in and get out of the country. It's an entry point for the drug trade. So I'm like, this is it. This is how you do it. You have the story be set in Florianópolis and make something like Miami Vice. You guys are familiar with Miami Vice? How that was sunny and bright, but it also showed the ugliness of humanity, contrasted with the beauty of the city. That's a great movie.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Don't steal my idea, Mirko.
Okay.
It sounds good. So, are you into filmmaking at all, or are you just mainly?
I want to be a filmmaker one day, but not currently. Because like I don't want to make the college class of filmmaking. So I think I can learn more outside, the system, basically.
Yeah.
By watching movies and taking information. I'm currently doing psychology and cannot fucking stand that class.
Yeah.
No one knew about I said that, but teachers.
That's a question I want to ask you, Mike. What cameras did you use for this movie?
Yeah, it was interesting.
So, unfortunately, so I do have access to a Blackmagic camera, which is very popular in the what's it called? It's very popular in the independent film industry. That's like one of the most popular ones. I couldn't get access to that because I couldn't really. Because I just didn't buy the lens for it. Because I could rent anything I want from the school. So the cameras that I use is actually not meant for like any type of film. The cameras that I use, well, the one camera that I use, it was I forget the name, to be honest with you, but it's more meant for like entertainment. Like if I went out there and if I wanted to shoot like a documentary or something like that, it's more meant for something like that. But I believe I didn't use it for this movie because I just my knowledge, like the name of the cameras, I just totally forget. But I am making a silent film for my class, and the camera that I'm using is a Panasonic for that one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You know, I actually thought you were going to say that you used your phone,
No,
because a lot of people now
no.
are straight up using their phones to make these movies,
But you know
and
what?
they're coming out very, very well.
I was
So
gonna say that, but that's only with like if you had an iPhone. And unfortunately, I don't know if you could see, but I have like a regular LG Android.
yeah, I have an Android
Yeah.
as well. I don't have an iPhone.
And if you can see right here, like my camera is like cracked, so there's no way I could shoot anything from that. So anytime when I'm shooting something, I'm just renting stuff from the. I'm renting any camera I could get my hands on. From the
So you
store.
said now you're in the process of getting ready to start doing a silent film, or you've already started?
Yeah, I finished it. I pretty much finished editing. I just when I get back home, because I'm currently on vacation in Florida right now. When I get back to Chicago, I'm gonna make like these minor tweaks or whatever and show it to my teacher. And if he likes it, you know, and if my teacher can help me out, then I'll definitely send it to another film fest. So, yeah.
Okay, well that sounds good. And Darth Plato says how
Yeah,
people
really.
from the medieval world would act in the present would depend a lot on which part of the world that they're
Sure.
from.
Yeah, could you imagine if they actually time traveled to futuristic, like London or something, you know? Like, I mean, it would be like a big difference, but how would you say? It would definitely be a big difference, but they would definitely know that they're in the future, you know? So,
Hey,
Yeah.
you want to know how different the present and the past are?
yeah, go ahead.
You know that story, Arabian Nights? 1001 Arabian Nights?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
About the Sultan his wife cheats on him. It was a story I heard as a kid, and now I just reread it and realized how horrifying it is from a modern perspective.
Yeah.
But it's a story about a sultan that his wife cheats on him with one of his slaves, and then he decides to kill the wife, and then he starts marrying one woman at a night and killing her the next morning. And then one of these ladies he marries ends up.
So he
telling
does it.
a story.
So he does it every night.
It's implied he does it every night,
Okay.
or but it's never outright stated he does it every night. But if he did every night, that would be like a serial killer by this point.
Yeah.
And then he marries a lady who is this poor girl from and she starts telling stories to him. And these stories always end with a cliffhanger that connects to another story. And she does that for 1001 nights. And at the end of those 1001 nights, they marry and they have ever after, even though he's a serial killer.
Huh. So these women are unaware.
No, it's implied they're forced to marry him.
Oh, okay. Huh.
So there's also rape involved in this whole shit.
Yeah.
So basically, in that was in the Middle East, which back then was actually a more progressive part of the world. So imagine the rest. So you can understand how different the past is from us, right?
Well, let me put it into this perspective. People from the 1800s have more in common with people from the 1700s than they would from people in the 1900s, if that makes any sense, because of how fast the world moves. And for example, like we would have more in common with people from 21 people from 2000s would actually have more common with people in 2100 than we would in 1900. So just think about that.
It depends, because the spread of the 20th century it was exceptionally quick, even by our standards of history. So maybe not now our progress can slow down a little. For me, it's like it's going to be that way because the 20th century was so fast. Like, because think about it, we half a century after we started have stopped. We're driving horses. We went to the moon. We went to space.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting when you put it into context between past, present, and future. And I'd love to see where your two characters end up if they were to end up passing out again and waking up 500 years into the future.
Yeah.
From our modern day perspective,
2,500 or something.
That would be mind blowing. Yeah.
Yeah, because that would be hard to do.
Bastards, have a break, please.
That would even be hard for me to do if I were to do like a sequel. If they get, blackout drunk again, and then they go to like the year 2500, like it would be hard for me because I don't know. Well, one, I don't know what like the technology is going to look like at that time. I don't even know what people are going to look like or how they're even going to dress or anything like that. And I don't think I have the budget for that.
You would have to get real creative with what you thought the future. You actually have to come up with what your idea of the future would be, like some things that
it'll be my own version, right?
It would be your version. It would be a timeline of what you would think that the future will be back then. Because I remember
maybe you just go haywire with it, because like I heard this story that when they were recording Back to the Future 2, they realized that no matter what they predicted, they would get it wrong in the end. So
of course,
right? Decided just go nuts about it. Let's just go nuts and just.
I mean, if you think about Back to the Future 2, they really some things they were like off, but it wasn't like stupid off. You know what I mean? It's not like they were that crazy off, about the future.
It's not Blade Runner where we have off-world colonies it will have conquer the galaxy in 2019 and have flying cars and
right. It was almost like with Back to the Future 2, they went for what they considered to be a realistic approach, while at the same time throwing in things that they thought would be possible and things that they hoped for, like the whole thing of the whole concept, the biggest one being flying cars. That's the one that everybody throws out as being like
happen.
Wow. We'll you know what we're gonna get? We're gonna get AI autonomous cars driving. Well, we already have that now, driving trucks on the street, but that's going to be the more, you're like your Ubers and stuff. It'll all be automated. It'll all be driven by computer. So you're going to essentially have that before you have flying vehicles, but those will eventually come. I think Back to the Future was probably off by about 70 so years on the flying cars, but we will get there. It's just that's like so when I look at Back to the Future 2, I like to sit there and kind of check the boxes of the stuff that they got right there, because there were some things in there that were pretty spot on.
They were only a year off from the Kings winning the World Series.
Yeah,
only 1 year off.
You know what I like to think when I think about the future? Following thing. What they got wrong, but what does this say about the time it lived in?
Yeah. Especially if you look at I'm sure you guys have probably seen this, but have you guys seen people from the 1900s drawing what they think the year 2000 is going to look like? And what I found the funniest about their drawings is that, like, even though they had futuristic items, they still wore like 1900s clothing. Like they couldn't think of what type of clothes we would wear.
Yeah,
You seen that?
clothing was mind-boggling to them, but everything else
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
You know,
Oh.
I was reading a book called Neuromancer from the 80s. I think you heard it. It's like the best cyberpunk book. It actually fascinating how much things they got wrong, you know. But I liked it how they got wrong because it shows me how people thought. I thought fascinating because I don't think it's a negative that when you get things wrong, because I think it shows about the times they lived in and how those people thought the future would be and how it can help us understand the past, you know. For example, Neuromancer, they have a scene in the first chapter. One of the first things that you hear is that there's a drunken guy saying that, oh no, there is no like this product here. There is not in Japan. There's only the Chinese have it. And then the guy in the narrator says, no, that's ridiculous. That the Japanese are years ahead of the Chinese in their economy. So, like, because back then the threat wasn't China, it was Japan that was the threat, the economic threat. Nowadays, it's probably the opposite in the plot line, you know, that the Chinese have the attack and the Japanese don't. So I find that interesting because, you know, because the whole how the story is written, you know, it shows us about how the anxieties in the stories that the 80s feared. Deus Ex is another example. Ever played Deus Ex?
Played what?
Deus Ex. It's the future from the perspective of 1990s conspiracy theorists.
Huh.
Oh, okay.
That sounds fun.
It's our future, but it's very interesting. Very interesting. It's brilliant world building.
Yeah.
Right.
So I gotta ask you, Mike, when is your next film? Is your next film going to be on your YouTube channel, or is it something that you're saving? What are we? When can we look forward to your next film?
Yeah, I'm planning to post, everything on my YouTube channel. I think I will post. Yeah, you know what? I will post my silent film. It's my first ever silent film that I'm gonna create, and it's just with my little brother, and it's only gonna be like 3 minutes, and it's gonna be kind of like what's it called? It's gonna be kind of like a horror-ish. I don't know if I said, yeah, it's gonna be horror. Pretty much, it's gonna be about a kid. He's in love with playing video games, and he's playing video games, but there's something uninvited behind him. That's all I'm gonna say about it. And
is it the video game that is haunted, or is it the
no? It's
environment?
Actually it's gonna be pretty realistic. So it's just like an intruder in the house.
Okay.
That type of thing. That should be done maybe in a week and a half. Also on my channel, I do have a documentary that I made for school that I actually want to have posted it to YouTube, but I thought it turned out pretty good. It's there's a simple name. It's just called the Shoe and Clothes Documentary, and it's pretty much a question that I had. Was like, why do people why do people care so much about getting the next Jordans? Or why do they care so much about, wearing the best clothes brand? Like, why do people want to buy these clothes brands? Like, why do they care? Because that's always a question that I had, is something like that. Because I pretty much, I really, as you can tell, I really don't care, what I wear. I just pretty much put on whatever.
Well, that's the best way to be, man.
So I interviewed people in a mall, like, what do you think? Like, why do you think the type of shoes that you? No, I'm sorry. What do you think the type of clothes that you wear like define your personality. Does it matter what people wear? Like, I ask people questions like that. So yeah, so that's what I've been working on. So
Awesome.
yeah.
I'm amazed at all the stuff that we've been able to cover on this show tonight, man. We've talked about a lot of different things, and this honestly went way deeper than I expected.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Guys,
but
I need to go have to go to sleep.
all right. Well,
Bye.
well, Dennis, thank you for coming, man.
Yeah, thank you.
I definitely am excited about your film, and we'll continue to promote, man. And you know what? You are welcome to come back here anytime you have a new product that you want a new film, a new project that you want to promote. You are more than welcome to come on here and talk about it. I'll share it and spread it around so that we can get as much exposure as humanly possible.
Yeah.
I know that
and
I know you said the Castle of White, that's going to a film festival. What film festival is it going to?
So actually, I submitted it to 4, and
Wow.
it actually did get accepted to 1. The one that I got accepted to it's called Crown Point, and it's in Logan Square in Chicago. You know,
Nice.
that's the name. Yeah, it got accepted there. So yeah, when it comes to these film fests, if anyone's out there that's watching or whatever, and they want to try to get their feet wet in the game of filmmaking, my teachers always said, do submit your projects to these film fests, and then it's such a great way to get in. And that's what I've been doing. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to see how your film's going to do, and all the great things you have coming up. I want to thank you so much for being here tonight. Was a pleasure getting to talk to you, and I'm excited. I'm still excited. It's great, and we're gonna go ahead, and if there isn't anything else that you have to that you wanted to say about your movie that we didn't get to that I might have missed. Is there anything?
No, just one quick thing that I think you might find interesting is that the bar scene was actually shot in like an old play set that we never used, like a play set that was meant for us when we were like maybe 7 years old, and they were sitting in chairs made for 7-year-olds drinking a beer in this like real small room.
Nice.
Just picture any type of small play set that's meant for children. That's what they're sitting in. And
real beer was being consumed during the making of this film, I'm assuming.
That's right. Yeah, it was real beer. Yeah.
No, it wasn't any
apple juice or anything.
It wasn't any mystical kind of beer that's going to make you travel through time, right? But it definitely
you must drink. Yeah, you must have a nice beer that has about 90% alcohol, no water at all. Then you will be able to travel through time. I guarantee it.
All right. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank everybody in the chat for participating in tonight's show, and for everybody who's going to watch this show on the replay, because we do get a lot of replay views when people watch this show. If you have any questions when you're watching it on the replay, definitely put your questions in the comments section below, and I'm sure that we'll be able to get some answers. I'll just talk directly to the filmmaker here. And
questions.
Yeah, it's great. It's great interacting with the chat. It's one of the best things that you can do on a show like this. But I do again want to thank you again for being here. I want to thank everybody for watching, and I'll be back with another late night Q&A with ZodWriter next week. My guest for next week will be technical home arcade game enthusiast Keo Dykin. He'll be joining me next week. Good night, everybody.
All right, good night, everybody. Thank you, Zod, for having me on my show, having me on your show, and I would love to come on your show again. It was really fun. And I appreciate you.
Well, don't leave yet. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you for a minute once we end the stream. But with that, we're going to go ahead and end tonight's show. Thank you again, everybody. Good night.